أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So as we continue to discuss the book Usul As-Sunnah by Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, which is a small thesis that have been put together to clarify some of the main belief of As-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So in previous sessions that we had discussed what is referred to, or what is referred to as the Muqaddimah, those introductory points that author rahimahullah wish to clarify before discussing points relating directly to matters regarding al-i'tiqad, matters of belief. So in pursuing this continuing discussion of the book that we'll read, so we'll have a reading of what is mentioned of the point, the next point, and then we'll go into the explanation bi'amdillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tafaddal.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. Point 10, and it is from the binding and necessary sunnah that whoever leaves a single matter from it has not accepted it in its totality, has not believed in it, and is not from its people, to have faith in the qadr, the divine decree, both its good and its evil, to affirm the ahadith related to it, and to have faith in them.
So the next point is mentioned as being point number, the next point that the author rahimahullah he mentioned, وَمِنَ السُنَّةِ اللَّازِمَةِ, of the hosting of the sunnah al-lazima, that is compulsory, التي من ترك منها خصلة, that the one who abandons any of its merits, لم يقبلها ولا يؤمن بها لم يكن من أهلها, that the person who does not believe or accepts these points nor believe in these points, then he is not from amongst Ahl Sunnah. So this discussion that you'll be discussing concerning the author rahimahullah trying to give us some clarity on certain matters that are discussed regarding a point where a person may be removed from the Sunnah. So what are those things that can allow a person to be removed from the Sunnah? But before we discuss of this matter, then also as a quick recap regarding what we had covered before regarding concerning this particular book. So as we mentioned that this book is titled Usul Sunnah by Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, who is then referred to as the Imam of As-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That this book is to cover certain basic points regarding matters of i'tiqad, matters concerning the Muslim belief. And it consists of points that relates to matters of i'tiqad, and also matters that relates to certain other points that are also included in books of i'tiqad. So in the beginning, the opening, that he clarified regarding that one, that it importance that a Muslim he should adhere and hold to the way of the Salaf al-Salih, the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, and to follow their example. So regarding how they approach regarding this deen, that also the Muslim who came after them should also have the same approach regarding our understanding of the deen. Then it should reflect that of the Sahaba, also, or mirror that of the Sahaba. Also, the source that we refer back to in looking at as a source of a religion also should also be similar to that with the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum who were upon, and other matters regarding the deen. Then he mentioned, so the ulama clarify concerning that these are points that relates to how to go about understanding Islam correctly, and how about to go so in the correct way. So knowing the source of Islam and having the correct approach regarding how to understand Islam, whether matters regarding al-i'tiqad or matters regarding al-fiqh, then that the Muslim have to have a system in place that is followed. And also the system that is established amongst, something which is established amongst the Muslim. Then also the author rahimahullah, then also he covers concerning matters regarding concerning that the importance of the Sunnah by clarifying regarding what is referred to as the status of the Sunnah and what is deemed to be the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And also he discussed the alaqa, the relationship between the Quran and the Sunnah. So what's that relationship between the Quran and the Sunnah, how they mesh together? Then also he clarified this. So the ulama regarding this point, that in summary, that regarding concerning the relationship between the Quran and the Sunnah, that of the ulama, they put it into three categories. So of those things regarding to the Quran, the Sunnah, there are times that the Quran and the Sunnah, out of the Sunnah, that it coincide muwafaq, the Sunnah muwafaqat al-Quran, that the Quran, that the Sunnah, it goes in line with the Quran. So it coincides, so the Sunnah coinciding with the Quran. So you have many issues of this regarding concerning establishment of Salat, Zakat, good character, that you find that the Quran mentioned these things, and also the Sunnah will mention very similar. So points where the Sunnah coincide completely with the Quran. The second of those things they mentioned, that also you might find that the Sunnah in relation to the Quran, that also at times that the Sunnah, it gives more clarity on certain points that are mentioned in the Quran. So at times a matter may be mentioned in the Quran, but the details of those matters are explained in the Sunnah, or can be found in the Sunnah. So it shows that in that cases that the Sunnah, it comes with more clarity. As the author mentioned, Al-Quran yufassir, As-Sunnah yufassir Al-Quran. That the Sunnah, it clarifies, give more details to the Sunnah on certain points. So matters regarding As-Salat, that the detailed points regarding Salat, detailed points regarding concerning matters of I'tiqad, on certain matters that may not be mentioned in the Quran, but they are mentioned in the Sunnah. And also a similar we'll find regarding Zakat, Hajj, Umrah, and the likes, and Siyam. So these points, that the details are found in the Sunnah, even though they are generally referred to in the Quran. Then the third of those, the relationship with the Quran and the Sunnah, when ulama have clarified on these points, that they mentioned the third concerning that at times that the Sunnah in relation to the Quran, that it may have, the Sunnah may have a ruling which is istiqlalan, that this ruling is completely, that it is only found in the Sunnah, and not there's no reference of that matter in the Quran. So you might have certain cases, certain masail, certain matters that are mentioned only in the Sunnah, without those matters being mentioned in the Quran. So they mentioned, so you find those things so you might find those cases. So you find those cases regarding matters that are mentioned in the Sunnah, but not mentioned in the Quran. So they both, so that's concerned the relationship between the Quran and the Sunnah. Then also of those things regarding the Sunnah, in ta'zeem of the Sunnah, that also for the Muslim to know the authority of the Sunnah, that the Sunnah is one of the sources of Islam. Whatever is mentioned in the Sunnah has been authenticated, then that thing is something to accept and to follow, whether those things relate to matters of i'tiqad, matters of belief, or they relate to matters of ahkam. Then also the author, rahimahullah, then he mentioned also of goes in opposite to the Sunnah, which is tahdhir min al-bidah, that the warning and the caution against bidah, and for the person also to ijtinabu, that a person also to avoid things of bidah. So not just only to know of bidah and the evil of bidah, but also for the person to avoid the things of bidah which are said to be innovative practice regarding Islam. And then he clarifies that there's a method and a system regarding how to understand of the Sunnah. Then he gave some examples regarding of those things, not to overuse of matter regarding al-qiyas, that in this context, what is meant by qiyas is ar-rahi, mujarrad an dalil, where a person have an opinion, but there's no evidence to substantiate that claim. So if a person wants to have an opinion, but there's nothing to validate that claim from the Quran or from the Sunnah or Ijma, then that is rejected. And also that view also concerning al-fahm, that a person also have a understanding of a matter, but there's nothing within the Islamic principles also to justify that opinion, or that rahi, that opinion the person have taken on. So that's also al-rahi. Also, we discussed the ulama of Usul al-Fiqh have clarified regarding what is referred to as qiyas, that when it is legitimate, and they give the rules regarding this. Then the author, he mentioned regarding concerning that of the Muslim regarding matters of i'tiqad, as he mentioned, that laysa fi sunnah qiyas. And sunnah in this context meaning al-aqidah. So a sunnah in this context, it means laysa fi sunnah, yani laysa fi masail al-i'tiqad, matters that relates to i'tiqad, matters of belief, matters of creed, then it is not left up to opinions. Is not left up to opinion, but rather is left up to dalil, that the person that he follows the dalil. Then after he mentioned these matters, then he end of these points regarding matters relating to how to approach Islam correctly and properly, then he mentioned as this point to be discussed, وَمِنَ السُنَّةِ اللَّازِمَةِ مَنْ تَرَكَ مِنْهَا خَصْلَةً لَمْ يُقْبَلْهَا وَلَمْ يُؤْمِنْ بِهَا لَمْ يَكُنْ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. So the next point that he wishes now to clarify or to bring to our attention is the matter regarding وَمِنَ السُنَّةِ اللَّازِمَةِ. So as-sunnah, وَمِنَ السُنَّةِ. So they mentioned وَمِنَ السُنَّةِ. So al-min concerning some of ba'da as-sunnah. So we'll be mentioning certain points relating to as-sunnah also here, meaning aqidah. So of the points of aqidah, some of the points of aqidah, that is lazima. So the word sunnah in this context, it means aqidah. So it doesn't say sunnah, it means aqidah. So من السنة اللازمة التي من تركها خصلة, that of those sunnah which is lazima. So those matters relating to aqidah, that is lazim, and they mention that concerning al-lazim in this context mean al-wajib. So the word al-lazim at times meaning something which is wajib. So these matters regarding of the sunnah of the aqidah which is lazim, allati man tarakaha, the one who abandons, the one who avoids these matters, then the person can fall astray. The person may fall astray. So he mentioned and fall into deviancy. Also to bear in mind regarding of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, or sunnah, yani slash al-athar, that those athar that goes back to the Prophet ﷺ. So a sunnah also to us clarify this point regarding certain sunnah that concerning sunnah al-amaliyah, that of those sunnah that is a ijma between the ulama regarding how they understand this particular sunnah and also how it is to be carried out. So in certain matters of the sunnah, there's a unity in how it is understood and also how it is applied. So refer to those things as ijma. So ijma'at of the ulama regarding that they have come to one conclusion on this matter, an ijma, a consensus on this matter, then everyone go along with that consensus. Even regarding understanding certain matters regarding of the sunnah. Then also no one should go in contrary to those sunnah that is agreed upon. No one should go in contrary to those sunnah that is agreed upon by the ulama. Second of those sunnah, that are sunnah that you might find in those sunnah regarding fi khilaf, by way of fi laysa fi ithbat, regarding concerning ithbat, regarding concerning of those things the sunnah that you might find that the ulama that they have some disagreement regarding between themselves regarding is this thing to be referred to as a sunnah or not, based upon and the reason for the disagreement between them, this khilaf regarding this act be said to be sunnah or not said to be sunnah, based upon the premise of there's a khilaf, a difference between ulama regarding is this point that is mentioned in this hadith, is the hadith actually authentic or not. So the matter is not about rejecting the sunnah or not rejecting the sunnah, is the authenticity of the text mentioning this particular matter. So you have those cases. So you might find at times that some of the ulama and also the tullab al-ilm, that you might find a certain difference between them based upon they disagree on a matter regarding is this thing to be referred to or called a sunnah. Some may say yes, others may say no. And the ones who say yes is because they believe that, because based upon the premise that they believe that this thing is authentic. So it's based upon ithbat, confirming is this hadith authentic. Those who affirm it act upon it. Those who hold it to be daif, then they don't. So you find cases of those. So you might find cases of those regarding of certain points regarding that of the ulama regarding authenticating certain matters. So you may find that in certain matters you may find this discussion between the ulama. But this is based upon, is this matter that is being discussed, is it the text that it is mentioned, is it authentic or not? So is the hadith authentic or is the hadith not authentic? So at times you might find those difference. And next, so when the author here mentioned وَمِنَ السُنَّةِ يعني السُنَّةِ al-i'tiqad, matters relating to belief, al-lazima. So as we mentioned, that I mentioned concern that al-lazima and wajiba allati la bud minha. So these are things which is lazim, wajib, that a person must possess these things and must fall in line with these things. So of the sunnah, matters regarding aqidah, that is expected for each Muslim, that they should uphold and believe in this. And then he clarified regarding التي من تركها, of those sunnah من تركها khasla, even one aspect of this, then he mentioned, and does not accept this and does not believe in this, then he's not from the people of the sunnah. On this matter, we just this discussion that we find that between the ulama that they'll mention regarding concerning that, when a person can be said or classed as being amongst the people of the sunnah, and when a person, what are those things that the person can fall into that will excommunicate him from the sunnah, remove him from the sunnah. So what are those things? So what are those things that a person should have in place for him to be referred to as being of the people of the sunnah? And what are those things a person can fall into that can remove him from the sunnah? So it shows regarding that there's a line that if that is crossed, then that person is removed from the sunnah. So with this matter regarding concerning that, as they mentioned regarding, so in mention this matter also to take into account that, as mentioned by Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, as mentioned by Al-Khallal in his book As-Sunnah, where he mentioned a statement Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah regarding this matter, regarding taking people out of sunnah and adding people into the sunnah. He mentioned that he states concerning that ikhraj an-nas, that to remove a person min as-sunnah, ikhraj an-nas min as-sunnah shadid, that to remove a person from the sunnah, it is something which is severe. So something which is not something which is easily done. So it means that the person who is looking at this matter then know that it is something which is severe. It's something of great consequence. So that's so that the person to take this into account. Then also regarding concerning a matter discussed between the ulama and mention certain points that discuss concerning matter يخرج الإنسان من السنة, when a person is removed from the sunnah and then referred to as being the people of Ahlul Bidah wal Ahwa. So under what circumstance can a person be removed from the sunnah? What will be those things if done? Then a person is said to be from not the people of the sunnah. So of this, that Shaykh Mashur Hassan Hafidullah, that on answering this question that he mentioned regarding concern that, in summary, he mentioned regarding this matter that he states, and this matter he said to take from Ash-Shatibi and others regarding concerning what they have mentioned regarding this point, that he mentioned متى يخرج الإنسان العبد مما يسمى أهل السنة والجماعة, when a person is removed from what is referred to or what is called أهل السنة والجماعة and becomes of the people of أهل البدع والأهواء. Then he mentioned, after that he first he mentioned الجواب هذا since وقبل and أجيب, and before answer this group of people that were expelled, removed from Ahl Sunnah, before I respond, then he just want to mention a point that man kharaja min Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that the one who is removed from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, wa waqa fi mithla hadhihi akhta, and a person who falls into error. So a person who falls into error, bihadha yurad alayhi wa yanasih, that such a person who fall into akhta and he claims to be of Ahl Sunnah, it is still also upon the people of the Sunnah wal Ilm also to clarify the person those things that he fell into error in. So the person has said any statement that is incorrect, attributing to Islam that is not correct, then those things to be clarified, whether by him or by others. So if an error is mentioned, then those things are to be corrected, so those things can be corrected, and also that person personally can be, so correction of those errors can be done if those things are said publicly, can be done publicly and should be done publicly, and also that person privately can be advised. Then he mentioned also ثم يرد عليه ما المناصحة, so the person can be refuted regarding those akhta, those errors that were made, and also likewise the person is advised. Then he mentioned ولا يلزم أن يرد عليه حتى يناصح, and it's not conditional, it's not a condition that person you have to advise him before you refute his statements or him. depending. So it is not conditional that before you can correct that person's error, that you have to contact him, write to him, and explain to him his akhta privately. It's not conditional. So the person can, so the concern give the person nasiha, and also correcting those errors, then both can be done, and both should be done. So the statements are mentioned publicly, they are to be corrected publicly. And likewise, the person who made those errors is corrected privately. But it's not a condition that you have to first contact him or try to contact him and discuss with him his error before you can speak about his error publicly. That's not conditional. And that's not conditional. So it's not a condition that a person has to follow those matters. So go back to al-masala wal-mafasid, depending on the person, see how best to approach those things. And the person who correcting those things doesn't have to mention the person. He can mention the person at times if there's a need and there's a masala, or the person does correct the issues that are being discussed. Then the Shaykh he mentioned, and then he went on regarding the matter mentioned, متى يخرج الإنسان من وسام أهل السنة والجماعة. So the main point regarding when a person is removed from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So he mentioned that in summary mentioned that it based upon three matters. That a person is removed, taken outside of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah because the person violate three principles. And in summary he mentioned regarding concern of those things, he mentioned al-amr awwal, as for those three things, that if the person wants to fall in those things, the person then is removed from Ahl Sunnah and said to be from Ahl Bidah wal Ahwa. The first he mentioned, أن يكون أصوله غير أصول أهل السنة والجماعة, that the person is foundation, is the fundamental that he applies. So his foundation is not that of the foundation of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So concerning his usul, his fundamental approach to Islam is not of that of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It is something else. Then that person is not from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Then I mentioned والمراد هنا بالأصول, as for what is intended and for what is said to be the usul that a person has violated and not in line with usul al-ithbat. We mentioned usul al-ithbat regarding the person, regarding ithbat, regarding talaqi wal istidlal. So regarding concerning that, the person in his approach as to what he sees as Islamic sources, the person approach regarding how he understand Islam, come to conclusion and matters, that it does not fall in line with that of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So the person, for example, that he was not to accept a hadith al-ahad in matters of i'tiqad, then that person in his usul al-ithbat, then wal istidlal, then the person wa talaqi, he has grave errors. So that's concerning as an example. And also the person is usul, that also regarding usul fi masal i'tiqad. So in those usul of Ahl Sunnah, that distinguish Ahl Sunnah, that a person that he does not share those usul. So he deviated matter regarding, he does not in certain matters of usul, he does not believe in the angels, as an example. Yadu billah. That a person, he denies the angel jumlatan wa tafsila. He completely deny the existence of the angels. Then this is contrary to the usul of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. A person who takes that belief, then is not from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So denial of the angel jumlatan wa tafsila, incomplete, then is not from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That's an example. So in matter of usul, fi talaqi, in the sources, istidlal, wal fahm, in how we understand Islam, then those things are, and also regarding how we understand certain masail. Then I mention, in summary, mention al-amr thani, as for the second of those things, that the person was to go away from those things, then he's not from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Then I mentioned of those things, I mentioned أن تكثر الأخطاء في الفروع كثرة أو كثير that I mentioned أن تكثر الأخطاء في الفروع, that a person also, you have many mistakes, the person making to have numerous mistakes even in matters of furu. So the person have too many, he's piling up too many errors in matters of i'tiqad, then that also could be a problem. And this is based upon that, and the person making all these errors because his usul is also off. because the person is making these errors, because and having all these errors because the way that he look is approaching Islam is incorrect. So he makes all, so he's fine, so he's falling into these numerous errors. So the person starts to fall into numerous errors, and the reason of this because the person of error in his usul, in his usul, and of evil approach of Islam, then that take a person outside As-Sunnah wal Jamaykee, goes back again to the person who saw having numerous errors, then that could be a sign of the person of error in his usul. Then I mentioned الأمر الثالث وهو مهم وهو then I mentioned that أن توافق, so the third I'm going to say أن توافق أهل البدع في المسألة هي علامة عليهم. That also the third is that the person that he have coincide with some of the fundamental principles of Ahl Bidah. So the person that is the person that in certain masail, in certain matters, that is coinciding and sharing and taking on the view of Ahl Bidah that distinguish them. So those distinguishing characteristics of Ahl Bidah is now have taken on some of those things. So the Khawarij, they have certain distinguishing features. Al-Rafida, Al-Shia have certain distinguishing features and beliefs and approach to Islam. If the person starts to adhere and adopt these things and take on these things, then this also can take the person outside of As-Sunnah. So for example, a person adhering to a madhab of Ahl Bidah. So those established madhahib of Ahl Bidah or firq of Ahl Bidah, the person now adhering to them, then also take a person outside of As-Sunnah. So you mentioned that for a person, for example, to say that he believes that Quran makhluk, that the Quran is created, iyadu billah. So the person will take on this false belief or adhere to this false belief, then that person have left As-Sunnah because that statement is not of As-Sunnah. It's contrary to As-Sunnah, and As-Sunnah oppose this view strongly. So that's concerning of those masail. So the person take on certain signs that are the ways distinguishing features of Ahl Bidah, then the person become of Ahl Bidah. So with that, so those are the things that he mentioned regarding some of these matters. Then Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah in his fatwa mentioned وَمِمَّا يَنْبَغِي أَيْضًا, of those things also the person to consider and يعرف, that the person should be aware of, and the tawaifa mansuba, that those group that adhere, that those that affiliate to Islam ila matbu'in, to particular followers fil usul ad-din wal kalam ala darajat, that are followers particular individuals, that they have certain usul and also kalam, but they are also on different darajat, they are on different levels regarding concerning these matters mentioned. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَكُونَ قَدْ خَالَفَ السُّنَّةِ فِي أُصُولِ الْعَظِيمَةِ or usul al-azima, that you have of Ahl Bidah in certain masail that they go in contrary to Ahl Bidah, oppose As-Sunnah in certain great matters, in certain, as I mentioned, usul al-azima. So these very fundamental principles, they have gone away from this. Then I mentioned وَمِنْهُمْ, I love those people that they mentioned مَنْ يَكُونَ إِنَّمَا خالف السنة, that some that they may go against the sunnah في أمور دقيقة, in matters that are very detailed, that certain intricate matters. So at times maybe certain matters are very intricate and the difference may be in those matters. So it's no one to look and to approach regarding those mukhalifin Ahl-Sunnah. So mukhalifun Ahl-Sunnah, that at times it is very clear because they have gone against the usul azima, and at times those matters, those differences could be one which is daqiq. As you mentioned, umurun daqiqa, matters that are very intricate matters regarding matters ilmiya, matters that are ilmiya. Also, with this, regarding as we mentioned, that of those things that what we find regarding concerning these matters, ikhraj al-shak means that also you find out the shaykh that of these ways that are follows, there are times you might find certain people that they have adopt certain ways that are distinguishing features of al-ahwa wal bidah. So of those things regarding, and we find that is more prevalent in the past, but also still exist today, ghulu. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْغُلُو فِي الدِّينِ, that I caution you against ghulu fi din. إِنَّمَا أَحْلَكَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ الْغُلُو فِي الدِّينِ. Why? Because those before who were destroyed because they went to extreme regarding their religion. So this matter regarding ghulu, as always, has been problematic. And of the ghulu that we find of our time, ghulu regarding one, hukum ala nas, especially regarding this discussion regarding who is deemed to be from Ahl-Sunnah and who is removed from Ahl-Sunnah. So you find that some will believe they are the only one deserving to be said to be from Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They are the only one who have rights to Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and they are the only one to decide who's from Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And also anyone that doesn't agree with them, then that automatically you're not from Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It's not based upon any principle other than ashkhas. It's not based upon anything other than ijtihadat min ashkhas, except for individual personal opinion. So this matter, as we mentioned, there's a problem or a matter that arises in this time regarding al-ghulu. So ghulu, by way of passing judgment on others, by saying at-tabdi', saying that people fall into al-bidah. Ghulu regarding at-takfir, regarding passing judgment that a person have left the fold of Islam. So you find, and also ghulu regarding concerning people go on to ghulu regarding tasahul, that they become very complacent regarding the deen. So everything is mashal hal, everything is halal. So you have ghulu from all those fronts today. Those who go over the top regarding passing judgment on other Muslim, and they are quick to pass judgment on others for the slightest matters, and to label them as such. And also those who go over regarding takfir upon the Muslim, and also those who go overboard regarding that they're very complacent regarding Islam. Everything is halal, mashal hal. So those are the things that to be mindful of. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, that and the ulama have cautioned regarding concerning these matters, concerning that. So you find that so it's known to put in those things in their proper perspective. So the ulama have mentioned regarding the statement is when the one to say them, ليس كل خلاف, that not every khilaf, ليس كل خلاف جاء معتبر, not every khilaf that may come to your attention is something which is mu'tabar, that actually have some form of basis. So that every khilaf, that every differences that come to your attention is something that has in some form of grounds or any basis. That I mention, إِلَّا خِلَافًا لَهُ حَظْ مِنَ النَّظَرِ, except for those khilaf, those differences, that it has some form of weight. So is the person knowing those areas of khilaf that carries weight and those that does not. And at times to look at concerning who is the person that is behind having that view. So knowing that person that is behind that view, is that person also is one that his khilaf, it carries any weight. So Ahmed rahimahullah in this thesis, in this point you want someone to clarify concerning that, yes, min as-sunnah, of what will be mentioned in this risala, some aspect of the sunnah which is lazima, those things that are wajib that each Muslim should understand and uphold and adhere to, that he should not leave away any of these, and also that the person who leave away of these principles, then also they fall outside of Ahl-Sunnah. So as also our next point to mention, that of the ulama have clarified that regarding concerning this classification of the Muslim muntasibin ila Islam, regarding concerning those who affiliate to Islam as being one, Ahl-Sunnah, and the second being, so the Muslim are Ahl-Sunnah and Ahl-Bidah wal Ahwa. So the Muslim, if were to be divided regarding how they uphold Islam, that either find a Muslim who are from Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Ahl-Hadith wal Athar, and they're the ones who represent Islam correctly, and also we find that the next are those who go opposite them, which is Ahl Bidah wal Ahwa. Those who are the ones of Ahl Bidah wal Ahl Ahwa, who goes in contrary to Ahl Sunnah, based upon the principle, based upon the Sunnah and its principles. So of Ahl Ahwa is all the Islamic groups that are deviated from a Khawarij, Qadariyah, Murjiyah, Tasawwuf, and all others, Mu'tazila, and all others. So all these groups, and also Ar-Rafida, Ashia, also they're the same, that they fall under Ahl Bidah wal Ahwa. So all of them are from Ahl, but they tafawut, they are different degrees regarding their degree of deviancy. Then the next thing to be looked at is regarding concerning, as he mentioned in the Sunnatul Lazima, that I mentioned that we define when is a person defined as Ahl Sunnah. When do we define that a person from Ahl Sunnah? So those things that you mentioned that in the points that will be mentioned after in clarifying the Aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah, that will be those distinguishing features that will clarify and be a sign of the people of the Sunnah. So the person uphold the principles of Ahl Sunnah as will be outlined in this thesis, in this work, then these will be some of those signs, the fundamental signs of the people of Sunnah. The one who uphold and adhere to these masail, these things, these matters to be mentioned, then they are the people of Sunnah. And the one who does not, then he's not from the people of Sunnah. So the people of Sunnah, so you clarify concerning what are those things that distinguish them. Then we'll mention various points. As we mentioned, this is one of those small theses that it is mentioned to distinguish between Ahl Sunnah wa Ahl Bidah wal Ahwa. So we'll mention regarding points, we'll mention regarding of those things that will distinguish Ahl Sunnah is regarding concerning how they approach Islam, regarding their manhaj, fi talaqqi wa istidlal wal fahm wal masadir. Also how they view the Sahaba and the aqwal of the ulama. Also, their key, that also concerns now that they are in total opposition to bid'ah. Also, that they believe it is that their belief is based upon text by with the Quran and the Sunnah, without making distinction between a hadith being mutawatir and a hadith being ahad. So for Ahl Sunnah, if the hadith is authentic, then it's suffice to use as a proof. So it will mention regarding of those masail that to be covered as distinguishing features of Ahl Sunnah, Iman bil Qadar, khayrihi wa sharri. So of those things regarding the mention of those things that distinguish Ahl Sunnah, that they are clear, their belief regarding Al-Qadar, destiny is good and is bad. Also discussed concerning wal Quran, Kalamullah. So the Quran, Kalamullah, walaysa makhluq, and it is not created. So that's another distinguishing feature of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Then also he discussed concerning matters regarding Ru'yat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regarding the seeing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fil akhirah. That's of the distinguishing of Ahl Sunnah, is distinguishing feature of Ahl Sunnah. Also you will mention Iman bil Mizan Yawm al Qiyamah. So different things that relate to Yawm al Qiyamah, and amongst them al Mizan. Also discussed concerning matters regarding al Hawd, the problem that concerning the pool. Also al Shafa', matters regarding intercession, Iman, and al Masih al Dajjal Kharijun, that regarding concerning matters regarding al Masih al Dajjal and that discussion. Then also Isa alayhi salam, regarding Isa alayhi salam, al-Iman. Then he discussed concerning what is Iman. Iman, qawl wa amal, yazid wa yanqus. That with Ahl Sunnah, and agreed upon between Ahl Sunnah, as to be discussed. That Ahl Sunnah, that how their view of what they deem to be Iman, that Iman, qawl wa amal. That Iman, it consists of speech and action. Yazid wa yanqus. And also it increase, and also it can decrease. Then also Ahmad rahimahullah, then they mention other points of those things with this risala of Ahmad rahimahullah, even though it's a very small risala, but at times, but you will mention, you cite dalil. So at times, he will cite concerning dalil from the Sunnah to substantiate some of his points. So as we mentioned that, so he will mention certain points. So he mentioned certain points that are some of those distinguishing features of the people of Sunnah. So these are the one who uphold and adhere and understand these points, then the people of Sunnah, and the person who goes against them. Mu'anid, the person who opposed these points, then that person is from Ahl Bidah, as we had mentioned. So, of those things that can, and also it shows a person at some point could be of the person upon the Sunnah, but he can be removed from the Sunnah, from Ahl Sunnah, based upon him violating or leaving away certain points that we had mentioned. So, of those things that can remove a person from the Sunnah, we have mentioned those three general points that relate to this. So with that matter, Ahmad rahimullah, that he'll be after this point, that now he'll be clarifying regarding matters relating to some of the belief of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and he'll mention certain texts to prove those points. So with this, inshallah ta'ala, we'll stop at this point and continue next week regarding this particular thesis written by Imam Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Ahmad ibn Hanbal al-Shaybani rahimahullah ta'ala. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهادي إلى السبيل والآخرة ونحمد رامين.